Hey guys, welcome to our what is now our semi-new podcast. Today we're going to be reading Victor's book because last time it was mine.
Because today is week. Yeah.
Yes.
So today is the third episode of Let's Dive In. We're going to talk about Why Greatness Cannot Be Planned, The Myth of the Objective by Kenneth O, Stanley and Joel Lehman. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Lehman, I think.
Lehman, yeah. That book was published in 2018 and is really interesting. It mainly talks about like the pursuit of the objectives in our society. Is it worth it? What are the good sides of it? What are the bad sides of it? And yeah, I think it's going to be a great journey. So first of all, what's your relationship with objectives, Daniel?
I don't know if it's the same as yours since you picked this book. I'm assuming you're going to agree with the book as to why greatness can't be planned. But I'm not going to go into my opinion yet. But I think as a person, to answer your question, I'm very... I have my constructive plans and opinions on who I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I have a pretty clear idea of my end goal.
Okay.
I would say that I believe that I can achieve it, and I believe that at least having an end goal is extremely useful. But yes, I to be more specific, I would like to enter the political sphere.
The political sphere?
The political sphere.
Nice.
I want to, one day be able to... I believe in
to be able to express your opinions. So the content of this book is about, first of all, questioning objectives. What are their role in our society? Also talks about the victory of the aimless and main innovations that come with it. And many concepts like that. So first of all, to kind of start in, the book emphasizes that every single metric in our society is linked to an objective. So like GDP, what can you name? Anything.
Okay.
So like life expectancy, crime rates, all those things. And it says that it's mainly something bad because of many reasons. And some of them is about progress. So those AI researchers, to understand the process of how this book was written, were about training AIs in 2017, 2018, and realized that sometimes when not giving a precise objective to those models, they achieved better goals. So at the beginning, they didn't really know what that meant and how to process.
What do you mean by that? When not giving them a clear objective, was it still hitting the objective in a way? Or was it giving something completely different? Because I don't get it.
For example, maybe an AI, you give him a maze and you simulate the AI going through the maze. If you give it the objective of going at the end of the maze, it sometimes takes way longer than just telling him, if you hit a wall, just try a new path. And go on, novelty is king. You just do your thing and see how it goes.
But nonetheless, it would lead to getting to the objective, actually leaving the maze.
Yeah,
so the same objective. But
no objective. You don't ask him to leave the maze. You just tell him when you hit a wall, just try something new, and it would lead to the end of the maze. But the objective was not to get there.
Okay, but what if something doesn't have only one outcome? A maze only has one outcome, right?
Oh,
you can only leave it, or unless you come out the same way you entered.
No, yeah, but that's one of the many examples.
Yes.
But basically, those guys discover that, and they don't really know how to process it. They just go on with their business, and one of those two scientists started doing a parallel between this AI model and main innovations we had, main discoveries we had, and our society in general. And that's why he started to write that book, and that's the end product of it.
Okay.
So first of all, what's your thinking? What do you think about the little preamble of this book, the executive summary?
Based off the executive summary, what I understand is when you don't have a clear objective, what you're trying to say is a human being can achieve human being or a computer, because.
Neural networks, it's more or less
just
the same.
More or less the same thing.
Yeah.
I think with clear goals, you allow yourself to have strategic planning, and with strategic planning, you allow yourself to achieve more. It's sort of like if you aim for the star, at least you're going to hit the moon. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. But yeah, No, but I mean the book is about dismantling that.
Just completely disagrees with me. Okay.
It's
No, but that's
both,
good.
yeah, it works
That's a
and
podcast.
works sometimes. And so those two scientists built a product called a pig breeder. And so you had two pigs, any pigs you wanted. You threw them in that algorithm, and it was doing a mix. So there was no objective. It was just like you put those two pigs, bam, bring something out random.
Yeah.
And that was about like discovering novelty, creating new things without a necessary objective. And at one point they arrived to a picture of a car, like starting from the picture of an alien. I think we can add those to the video in the podcast, so you picture what I mean. And they asked their users, because a bunch of people were just like hopping on that website, try to reproduce the car. And so people were trying to like put circles, to put like pictures that made sense.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's just the alien that led to that. Like it's random as fuck and just discovery of novelty. And by creating this pig breeder, they had like kind of a concept that maybe like, Starry Night, of course, the Joconde, are some masterpieces. And if you picture like all the possible images in your head, some masterpieces they have not been discovered yet, Like
Yes.
we don't know about them, they're here, but we don't know about them. And they emphasize that objectives don't allow you to like explore the room for new things and put you into a single path that mostly leads to failure in general. Because they can become obstacles towards like exciting achievements and especially those involving discovery, creativity, invention. By that I mean, but for example, the first computer. I don't know if we mentioned that in previous podcasts, but was created with vacuum tubes, and vacuum tubes were invented in the 1750s just to figure out some shit about electricity.
We did.
Yeah, we did. And that led to the invention of the computer. And if you had the objective to build a computer, you would never think about those vacuum tubes.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure. Like when Apple, he started off with computers. I don't think his final goal was to create an iPhone.
Exactly.
Yeah, leave your doors open to other possibilities. Yes, I agree. But nonetheless, that doesn't prove my point incorrect. Because but it doesn't mean if you're not aiming for the stars, you don't... Okay, no. For example, if you were aiming for the moon, it doesn't mean you don't get to go to space, but it doesn't mean, like, if you're aiming for the moon, you might still get to the stars. Like, you might even get further than you plan to. But nonetheless, having an aim is good. If you're aiming for nothing, you might just end up at nothing.
But what it must...
You're just saying have open doors.
Have open doors, but like all of them open.
Yeah.
And most of the time, if you aim too high, you're just not gonna get there. For example, maybe you get like the 10 smartest people from 2,000 years ago, so like ancient Greece, put them all in a room, so Socrates, all those guys, and you ask them to build a computer.
But
Even if it's the objective, even like trying to go through it, you cannot achieve it if you don't have like some milestones on the way that you achieved. So I believe that, sometimes aiming too high is just leading you to failure.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think we should exaggerate on the point of the book where it says greatness. It doesn't mean success can be planned. Success can be, in a way, planned. Maybe not greatness. Maybe not something truly great.
How do you differentiate greatness and success?
That's the thing. Like something great, something genuinely out of the extraordinary. It never just you don't always think about it. You almost somehow life leads you to the path, and you're like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
Yes, that's the thing. But success,
you don't correlate success with greatness.
no, something truly great. No one expects to be great.
Okay.
You can't guarantee greatness. You can't guarantee success, but you can definitely. It's more likely to be successful because success and great are
two really different concepts.
Being a millionaire and a billionaire.
Yeah, you think being a billionaire is great?
Yeah.
Okay, it makes sense.
And again, like I said, if you're aiming to be a billionaire in life, like in the past book, you might have that billionaire mindset, but even if you don't, you will end up being a millionaire. Someone aiming for having a salary of 200K is going to end up having a salary of 200K.
But how? Like if you don't have a clear path and you don't know how to get there, and most of the time we go back to the idea of the last
But self-determination theory.
About but a false compass.
Human
you don't know
agency.
where you're going. Human agency.
Human agency. I can argue that very much with human agency.
And so the book talks about how 66% of adults attribute some aspects of their career to serendipity. Serendipity, yeah. What do you think about that number? 66%. It's quite a lot, you know?
No, I mean, yeah, it's substantial. But do you think they didn't have a plan?
I don't know. I think like leaving doors open is the most important thing. And when we see like those big projects, those big things where you have a precise objective, and for example, you want to pursue a scientific like project, you want to get funds.
Yeah.
How can you arrive in a room without an objective and get funds? You can't. So like all those patterns and like ways of structural thinking schemes puts you in like a closed mindset in which you cannot really think outside of the box. I don't know if you picture what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. But what if I argued not greatness can be planned, but short-term and long-term greatness? Two different things.
Yeah, exactly.
I think if you plan things
step by step,
by piece,
yeah,
like in the moment, you're like, okay, now I'm ready to do that. You didn't expect in a year that you would be doing this, but now that you are at this point, you move towards a different goal.
Yeah, no,
because
exactly.
life is too unpredictable in general.
Life is really unpredictable, and it's like the book says it that way. Huh? It is sometimes dangerous to compare yourself where you are to where you want to be, because like most of the time you're multiple stepping stones away, and they might lead to other directions.
But that's not a bad thing. It can still lead to greatness. It doesn't guarantee it, but it can still lead to it. So just to not get the viewers confused, that doesn't mean you don't have to potentially plan it. Zelensky, perfect example. Let's, for example, I'm Ukrainian. I'm wearing traditional clothing.
Go for it.
I don't know what his plan in life was, but he started off, he got a degree in, I think something linked to international relations for no reason.
Yeah.
Ended up, because he wanted to be a great comic.
And he was.
He ended up being it.
Yeah.
But then that international relations degree and somehow connecting to aiming for something high, he wasn't, once you're like used to achieving something, you can just boom, he became president. He didn't expect it, but he ended up being great because he kind of planned something already.
Yeah.
Does that kind of, do you get my picture?
No, of course. And that's why the book say like serendipity meets only the prepared mind. Yeah. Like for example, Newton was not just a random guy watching apples fall, and some days he realizes fucking gravity. Like he was a known physician, mathematician, and that little like bit of serendipity fell on him, on the right guy, because of course you have to prepare yourself. But we come back to the last podcast, maximize like knowledge, new things, like new processes in your life. But I think you still can attribute a good part of success to serendipity. Yeah. Taking opportunities and luck, huh? So it's about maximizing your luck.
Experiences become better depending on how much knowledge you as a person have. I mean, for someone else, the apple falling is just an apple falling. For him, because of his knowledge, it becomes something. It's more important.
Making connections.
You're something you're capable of. But yes, again.
Yeah. And so to kind of like illustrate the sometimes misleading objectives. The book talks about the Chinese trap. So the Chinese trap is about putting both of your hands in a not a tube but kind of a cage. Again, we can put pictures. We're gonna start putting pictures now in the podcast. It's gonna be great. We upgrade production, and actually, if you try to pull them out, you're gonna be more stuck. Like factually, you're gonna be more stuck. But by being less free and putting them back in, that opens the thing, and you're able to put your hands out. And so this is really counterintuitive, because being less free makes you free. So like it's completely the opposite like of the objective function. Because if the objective function is getting out, you want to pull, because you're getting closer to the objective function by going out. But actually, being less free makes you free, and if you go in, like that's how you free yourself from that Chinese trap.
How, I'm just curious, how would you apply this if you have an opinion on like real life?
I think many cases. We'll go back to that later because I think I have examples. I'm not able to name them right now, but probably going in another direction. Like basically getting closer to the objective function doesn't really mean you're getting closer. For example, a lot of people, we go back to AI because that's what I do. A lot of prominent scientists say that AGI, so artificial general intelligence, will be invented by a 19-year-old behind a laptop. Because of new processes in China or in India or in whatever country. Yeah. But that means like, and you have Sam Altman trying to raise $7 trillion to get there, like, pam, spending like 10% of the world GDP on trying to achieve that goal. And actually going towards that objective function, what we think is the objective function, by buying more GPUs, buying more servers, buying more X, Y, Z, and building a huge thing, might just not lead to AGI, because it's like a certain pattern of lines of codes, maybe 800 of them, that a random 19-year-old can do. And that's like, a lot of people agree on that's what might happen. And the same way, we go back to IBM, like spending huge funds in some like R&D to reach a goal. And you just have a disruptor that comes with new processes that took another path with other milestones, and that get there like way before you. What do you think about this? You're not convinced?
I'm not convinced. Because I feel like when it comes to IBM, they were more concentrating on improving what they already had.
Yeah.
They weren't taking a different turn.
Yeah.
I would argue that Sam Altman is definitely taking a different... I think at the end of the day, when you invest resources pay out. At least it's relative. But at one point, it stops being relative. It's like flipping a coin. Eventually, you get close to the 50%. No matter, you get closer and closer. The more he's investing, eventually, it's $7 trillion. I mean, it's going to be him. It's not going to be a Chinese kid. I mean, I believe in my Chinese kids, but that's pushing it. Because I feel like... But it has to be. Resources win. Because, okay, like you said, some random guy was... how many developers did we have trying to create, like, video realistic AIs? And then what happened recently?
About
the guy with the resources won.
Okay.
The guy who had a clear goal, the guy who had a set objective ended up winning. So, okay, but it's short-term, long-term. He had a long-term goal, because how long has he been developing ChatGPT? A while.
ChatGPT, I don't know, but OpenAI was created before 2016.
But it was kind of the same concept. He was already collecting the archive, so he had a set goal.
Yeah.
He had that set goal, and I don't think his goal was to create video realistic. No, his goal was to be able to, for a human being to kind of like...
Okay. But then we go back to the example of the last podcast. We go back to the last podcast about Nixon in 1972 saying, by the year 2000, we will eradicate cancer. I trust me, the president of the United States, he has funds.
Yeah.
He spent billions like trying to achieve that goal. And because you're more than one milestone away, you're not able to go through it. And so probably what you say is partly right. But for example, the book talks about how like tests are made to assess knowledge. You agree with that for now?
Depends.
But teachers teach students not to have more knowledge, but to get good grades at their tests.
Yes.
Because that's what they are. That's how they're appreciated by the class. That's how they're recognized by the academies, and having good pass rates is better for the teacher than having people understanding concepts. So the objective
100%.
function being having a good grade or assessing knowledge, sometimes it's just like compromised. Is that how we say it? Yeah, compromised by other like parasites that just like take part into the process.
But do you think it's more efficient for a population to have people that are more self-centered on the idea of having a direct goal, or more people who are open to things? Because at the end of the day, we need people who are more...
You think so?
If we have everyone who's, again, I would like to point out the word greatness, and are like throwing their ball everywhere, those people who are throwing the ball need people behind them who have a strict, direct path.
But don't you think if you were doing a job that you loved about things that you know, and you came into the office and the guy was like, just do whatever you like, related to that topic.
I would love it.
You would love it, but I think
that's a top 1% thing. It genuinely is. I think it's a top 1% thing.
I think it's a top 1% thing because we're not democratizing enough this type of thinking.
In this podcast, completely advocate the idea of opening your doors. Don't be specific. No one expected AI to be one of the top jobs 4 years ago.
Yeah.
No one did. But now it is. It doesn't mean that now your top job has to be, when I grow up, I want to be this AI specialist. There might be something completely different. Yeah, but that's why you leave your doors open. But like most likely, you're going to need those AI specialists. You're going to need to have to run.
Yeah, but AI specialists are maybe going to discover greater things by just doing what they love in the field of AI.
But you need that to be a small population.
To take the parallel about people in our class, because we are in the same class, I think 95% of them have the objective function of having a good grade. They don't give a single shit about like acquiring knowledge.
I beg to God they don't listen.
I beg to God they don't listen, but that's factual. Like I believe if a teacher...
And yet they are essential.
And yet are they essential? Yeah. Do you think it's essential to want...
If you have would you rather have a bunch of... in a way it's perfect. You have 1% of the world, way less, being the Steve Jobs of the world. But if everyone was the Steve Jobs of the world, you have a failed society.
Failed society or a bunch of innovation that would be amazing.
But most likely you have a failed society.
I don't know. I think everyone going on about like what they like, what they love.
Some people you need them to do the right thing. You can't always be throwing balls everywhere. Then everyone's throwing balls everywhere. And
but I believe our listeners are aiming for greatness.
But that's the point. That's why I said I completely advocate this.
Yeah.
But we need those people. So recommend this to your friends, but also don't. keep this to yourself because but like you need the guy who cleans the mattress.
Yeah, no, but
I don't want the guy who's cleaning my mattress being like, but what if I design this new type of cleaning method? Like, bro.
No, that's sad. I think
it's sad, but
aspiring for like better and
maybe we should increase people who think
like that,
being more open doors in general. Maybe we're a bit we can maximize it, but maximize it I mean like 5% of the world, and that would be optimal. If we push it, I think it goes down, but that's my argument. You can completely disagree and I'm completely fine with that because we're a friendly environment.
And because students end up being good at memorization.
I agree. I had a whole speech about
take
this.
tests without actually increasing their knowledge about the course.
I completely agree. I had a speech about this. I think I ended it with students are 20% of our population, but they are 100% of our future. But I completely agree. I think Finland is doing very well with that. They have a very open system, and they're having a lot of kids who are growing up and potentially becoming the future CEOs. And then we have kids in Russia who would destroy you in math. But,
we need all extremes. We need all extremes. I agree.
Yeah.
The next topic talked about in the book is Campbell's law about the deceptive objective. So sometimes like perverse incentives that can be good in appearance for the objective function to get closer to the objective function, like with the Chinese trap, getting free, but bad in real life. So, for example, we go back to the example I talked to you just before the podcast. Britain, when they were colonizing India and were settled there, paid Indians to kill venomous snakes because the venomous snakes were a big problem in the society, killing a lot of people, propagating plagues, bad thing. And they were paying them, I think, the equivalent of 10 cents per snake at the time. And that was supposed to decrease the snake population. That's our objective, and to get closer to the objective function, we pay people to kill the snakes. And that led to venomous snakes farms and more snakes in the end because of the escapes, because of everything, because Indian people with a lower, with a lower life, how do we say that?
Life expectancy?
Life expectancy, no. Like less money in general.
Less income?
Yeah, lower income, yeah. Like, just thought that was a great business opportunity, started breeding those venomous snakes, and brought them to the government, taking a bunch of money. So Campbell's law is and can be deceptive, especially in our society with a lot of processes and everything. To take another example... But.
But.
Okay, go for it.
But could that not be the problem with an objective? But could that be problem with the offering? What if it wasn't money? What if the problem was the offer in the first place? What if it's never the objective? The objective, we'll leave it. The objective is to decrease the amount of snakes. It stays. But what if we change the way we do it? Because I would have never done it that way.
It's okay, but...
Okay, the way I would have done it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for example, let's say snakes. Regions in India with lower snake populations, there would be someone who would check their snake populations, for example, somehow, some way.
Okay.
Would be rewarded if there were no snakes. So as a matter of fact, just proof of having no snakes would be better than showcasing that you found something.
And then their friends
they would just be killing all the snakes.
Okay.
And then those places would be more developed. You have a more developed society.
Oh,
If you have a little den of snakes.
But
hiding.
give them 2 weeks and they'll find a way to fuck your objective function. Or I don't know.
Or not.
I hope not. Another example is in the US, they were paying, how do you say, archaeologues? Like people that dig for dinosaurs' bones. Archaeologists, yeah. In the US, they were paying archaeologists for each fragment of dinosaurs found. And so at the beginning, it looks like a great idea. But workers, when they were finding like whole bones, like big 2 or 3 meters bones of dinosaurs, they were just breaking it into fragments just to get more money. And even if I agree with you, there's better ways of rewarding people, better processes to imply. There's many things that lead to a negative objective function, like Campbell's law states. And the last example, and you're gonna like tell me about this because as a politician, it's an important matter. The GDP is widely recognized as a measure of health of a country, as like how it could be representative of how good you're doing.
It's correlating.
Yeah, it's correlating. And politicians, before getting re-elected, often have the incentives to implement policies to boost like the GDP short term, to show that the economy is going well. And those policies often happen to be poisonous for the economy in the long term. And so that could be the same thing as the Chinese trap, in which like trying to get out and like implementing short-term great policies that boost your GDP artificially just leads to poisonous like reactions in the long run.
But I think when politicians do this, based on historical evidence, they are aware of this.
Oh, the politicians are aware of this, but
yeah. So it's not like they're. Again, I don't know. I don't fully understand how this links to how greatness can be planned, because politicians are aware of this. It's populism. It's getting the vote. It makes sense. It's natural for someone to do that. It's short term. Everything that happens too quickly is usually too good to be true. That's what life teaches you in general, and that's just the way the world works. So like it's inevitable. And it doesn't happen in all countries. It mostly happens in places like the United States and places like this with bad... I mean, please, yes. Every time there's an election in the US, we have something like the Jeffrey Epstein Island. Oh, he's a bad guy. Vote for me. Yeah. I'm the good guy.
No, that can be...
that's the thing. Like
that's debatable. I agree.
Yeah. But again, that's my opinion.
And the book then talks, there's a whole chapter about this, about which scientific projects should be financed. Mm-hmm. And so the way we do it at the moment is the ones laying out clear objectives are instinctively safer, but they do not and cannot really explore like they should. For example, the same way vacuum tubes to create computers are completely uncorrelated. And what the book tries to emphasize is the danger of consensus. So in funding those projects, there's the panel of experts that assess the idea, that talk about it. And if consensus is reached, the project is way more likely to be funded. And what's really bad about it is that consensus often just signify echoing the status quo. Like
people are pressured towards conformity.
Yeah, exactly. People are pressured towards conformism, and
which
and
stops
and so reaching a consensus in a scientific community often means that you're not necessarily in the right way. Like, for example, Darwinism, we're talking about this morning, did not reach consensus until, I don't even know if it reached it today, did it?
Depends where you live.
Depends where you live. No, but in the scientific community, I think it did now. But for more than a century, it was debated, spit over. Like, people were like thinking the guy was crazy because a lot of other theories were emerging. And I think not reaching consensus is sometimes more promising than reaching consensus because of conformism, you often lead to, echoing of status quo. And so it brings you to not thinking outside of the box or not bringing any innovation. And they go back on their idea of a pig breeder, like the two things. Pig breeder worked because people didn't agree what pigs was the best. So they were trying to create new ones, like trying to explore new things, explore novelty. And that's why I think that, in the at least scientific funding, don't you think it's more impressive to have like half of the scientists that strongly approve you and the other half that hate the idea? Like, don't you think this is a more interesting project to fund than everyone saying, great job, bro, go for it, nice thing?
You always need the one man who disagrees. Maybe it's not a 50-50 thing, but you need someone who disagrees. Because he's going to go on a completely different page and maybe discover a completely different thing. I completely agree. Conformity is bad. You need to be open to new ideas. Just in general, I completely agree. I don't know if this is true. I don't remember where I heard this from, potentially. But this is what they do in Israel. So you'll have like 10 men. I think it's literally called the 10th man. The idea of the 10th man is that you have 9 men who you have the logical whatever. And the 10th man, his job is to disagree.
Okay.
His job is to disagree. For example, when the Arab Gulf War started, the Jews never believed that there's potential that they would attack. They thought it's not going to happen. We lived with them. It's not going to happen. And the 10th man job after that is to say no. They will.
To be the devil's advocate in any situation.
You always have to be the devil's advocate. Someone has to disagree, and that's called having a backup plan. And if it may never happen. It may never happen in centuries, but that one time it is, and that's going to save you.
Yeah.
There has to be a 10th.
I agree with that, but I would prefer to found, because in our society, consensus is king.
Yes.
Like when you make an investment, when you make a board meeting and you vote with people, when you fund scientific projects. In any given situation, consensus is king, and I think that's a big issue, and the book emphasizes that it's a big issue. Because most of the time, consensus, is that how you say it? Yeah? Consensus? Well, anyway. Consensus leads to, again, echoing of status quo. And I think it's a big mistake.
I completely agree. I when I was working on my secret startup, I would always be more welcoming of the guy who disagreed.
Yeah?
I would always welcome his opinion. It would hurt me. It would boil my heart. But he would actually sometimes inspire that one idea that would be my differentiator.
Yeah. No.
And I would, everyone else, genius.
Yeah.
No.
That's why I think a lot of companies fail. Because when you reach a status or something, you're only around people that only agree with you, only praise you, only say that everything is going fine.
I think you need to be determined. I think that's the most important thing. It's like a self-determination theory, self-efficacy theory. When we talked about, I think it was last podcast, Boba doll, remember? The doll with the being aggressive towards the doll, Albert Bandol.
Yeah.
Okay,
we talked
guy.
about that.
He talked about self-efficacy theory, and it's one's belief in his ability to succeed, and this relates to human agency, which the human beings with a good self-efficacy theory are more likely to set themselves challenging goals and remain committed to them. That's the thing. Maybe you can't plan greatness. Maybe your book is right. Maybe it's not. But having self-efficacy and having that set of challenging goals. Back to Zelensky. He wanted to be that, but because he had self-efficacy theory, he was like, okay, no, but I'm going to set another challenging goal, and now I'm going to do that. And he was great in both.
No,
things.
but the book doesn't say that objectives in general are bad. It says that you need to go step by step. And if you're
then I completely agree.
if you're more than one milestone away, often leads to a broken compass. You go in the fucking wrong direction and you end up in the wall. And so, like, either really large objectives in which you don't determine the outcome and just stay open, like accept opportunities, just in general, like be open-minded is okay. And also more short-term goal, like maybe waking up at 7 a.m. every morning, are goals that are okay to pursue. But large goals in which you have no fucking idea of where to go, 99% of the time are like a big mistake. And in our society, lots of goals are misleading and are big mistakes, in my opinion.
Okay, so in your opinion, you don't believe in the destiny blueprint?
Exactly. No, I believe in the destiny blueprint, but I don't believe you can just like say it without
You
a
can
clear.
speak it into reality.
Yeah,
Without
you can speak it into reality, and you should explore things that you like. You should explore things that fulfill you without being self-determined into a conformist reality. And that actually goes back to the human nature, where we're from, like evolution. The book talks about how like slightly broken coping machines can lead to something intelligent, and it's a parallelism with evolution, because well, you know that we replicate with our DNA when we reproduce, and most of the time, because we're not perfect, because of entropy, because of disorder in general, there's one or two genes that mutates, maybe 10, maybe 10,000.
Yes.
And that leads to a broken coping machine that makes us who we are. Because if we had perfect replication, by unicellulars would have stayed unicellulars, and you cannot go throughout evolution if you have always the same base stats, you know?
I mean, based on human nature, I don't know if this is attractive theory or attractiveness law. Human beings naturally will be more attracted to someone who's different. So if you're blonde, you'll be more attracted to different genetics. So
is that a factual
yes.
thing? Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
If you're dark,
Yeah.
there's a likely chance that your body would likely want to mix, because when you mix, your genes are actually stronger.
Okay.
If you get the same one, no. If you mix, your genes are stronger. That's a fact. I mean,
Okay.
it is. So this is actually completely normal.
No, but
Our body prefers this. It prefers to be with different genes and mutating it. It enjoys this.
okay. If you turned into God right now,
Great.
and you go back to like 3 billion years ago,
Yeah.
and you have unicellulars mechanism, like one cellular unicellular, yeah, like organisms about one single cell, so single cell like beings. To reach humans, how would you proceed? So you would try to breed maybe like the single cells with the ones that have the highest IQ, and then do like highest IQ, and only breed them together.
I mean, yeah.
And that would not lead
That
to
would
anything.
not work. No, yeah. You
That
have to.
that would not work.
They need
the
to
object-
mutate, change.
Yeah, exactly. You
evolve.
need to mutate, you need to change, you need to find difference, you need to discover new processes, and that's what the book is about. It's about letting the door open. It's about being less like self-determinist, and yes, because humans are not biologically special. We're just part of evolution, and we're outliers like anyone, like any species, even if at the moment we're quite comfortable. And evolution doesn't lead to humans, as the Enlightenment movement made us like believe it, put in people's mind.
Yeah.
What religions made put in people's mind. Like it's actually we're not that special.
We never would have been.
We never would have been. It's just a combination of mutation. Of go on.
Yeah, no. It's a combination of mutation, but also like random actions humans took. Like, okay, the biggest one. This is, in my opinion, what probably completely altered everything. It put us on a brand new path. Cooking food.
Cooking food, exactly.
But just purely cooking food, taking advantage of fire. Some probably monkey took LSD, figured out how to make fire, and decided to cook it. This decreased the size of our jawline.
Let more space for a brain.
Allowed more space for a brain. But my guy decided to cook. And that changed everything. Bigger brain, ratio to body, everything changed. And then we have guys creating potentially
nuclear
AGI.
bombs, AGI, everything.
It's incredible. So you need to do those random acts. You don't know how far they can.
And so, because every organism, their goal, like pure objective, is to reproduce, you like humans should not be there, because we are like really, really ineffective at reproducing. Yeah. Like we have even more right now. But I mean, in general, we have like trillions of cells in our bodies. But only one is needed to reproduce. Like the one sperm cell like is needed to reproduce. Only one. So we're truly evolution monsters in the sense that we don't obey the objective function of reproduction.
And that's why you guys should believe in me as God. Because it's true. It's incredible. Like, I mean, just the amount of years you need to be even able to reproduce is like what, 13, 12?
Oh yeah, we're purely inefficient.
Like it takes a kid takes like how many years to walk, can't feed itself, nothing. Human beings are useless.
We don't lie in the objective function.
Thank God for the brain.
Thank God for her brain.
Thank God for that guy who decided to cook.
Yeah, and her consciousness.
He was really cooking, huh?
Now we can upload videos on YouTube. Amazing. Yeah. And so that's like we go again and again and again at this throughout the book. It talks about many innovations, talks about many new inventions, and yeah, I think that's most of it. And that David Frost, so one of the co-authors, said, "Don't aim for success if you want it. Just do what you love and believe in, and it will come naturally." So I think it's genuinely a quote that kind of summarizes the whole book.
Yeah.
Because even if objectives, and in that way I agree with you, can be good like leading factors to success, to lots of things, if you're more than 1 milestone away, most of the time you should just stay open-minded, do what you love, do what you believe in, and hope that it falls.
Have as much psychological capital, psycap.
Maximize
efficiency.
psychap.
Yes, and resilience and optimism as a domain, and the impact of agency will be evident. You have to be a proactive personality. You have to have, as I mentioned, self-efficacy, self-determination, and be able to set goals, but short-term.
Short-term.
Don't push it, because it won't work.
Yeah. Determinism is mostly a box that you have a hard time getting out of.
Don't be delusional.
Don't be delusional. Exactly. But I think, do you have anything to add? I think it's a closer podcast, but that book is quite short.
If you want to stay on topic, I think we did everything.
Yeah.
I think
we could go
to the point.
Totally off topic
then this would last hours.
Yeah, this would last hours actually.
But I think that was great.
Thank you, Victor,
for reading that. That was a very nice book. I might have to read it myself. However, our podcast is so good, you don't even need to read the book.
You don't even need to read the book. But you should. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. We'll tune in next week. We're gonna get up to pace for uploads because we're not efficient enough. With a new book that Daniel will present. And thank you very much. Let's dive in.
Thank you very much. This was Victor and Daniel.
You fucking